We know that airlines love to buy up other airlines. In the last couple of years, we've seen airlines buying up other airlines to the point where the airline that was bought doesn't necessarily carry the full weight of their name. It has a large influence of the parent company. This process opens up a political advantage and also the opportunity to make a large amount of money. For example, in 2014, Etihad Airways introduced its own global alliance with the aim of linking several of its major airline investments to drive an improved global network. Equipped with equity stakes in struggling airlines such as Air Berlin and Jet Airways, Etihad hoped that money would buy up a greater coordination, which would in turn drive their revenue growth. Just over 6 years later, Air Berlin and Jet Airways has ceased to exist. The alliance has failed, and Etihad has embarked on a completely new strategy under a new leadership team. Now, Etihad's challenges may seem unique, but other airlines have equally struggled to make the most of their equity stakes. This begs the question, should airlines continue acquiring equity stakes in other airlines, or are there other avenues to increase cooperation without the significant financial risk? While Etihad may initially seem to be an outlier in purchasing airlines with the hope of extending its reach, other airlines have tried similar strategies with varying success. Delta has previously built up an impressive stake in other global airlines, including Aeromexico, Air France-KLM, China Eastern, Korean Air, LATAM and Virgin Atlantic. In particular, Delta was able to leverage its own equity stake in Air France-KLM and Virgin Atlantic to build on its comprehensive joint venture, operating nearly 300 flights a day across the Atlantic at its peak. Unfortunately for Delta though, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic has decimated air travel, resulting in bankruptcy proceedings for 3 of its airlines, Aeromexico, LATAM and Virgin Atlantic. Delta was therefore forced in July to write down nearly $2 billion on 3 of its investments alone, with the biggest markdown occurring with LATAM. Now, this is by no means judgment on the airline's network strategy in the non-pandemic times, but rather a vivid description of the risk an airline can occur by investing in other airlines. The airline industry is well known for having a volatile past on a macro level, and adding more airlines to the mix only heightens the risk involved. In addition to the financial risk of investing in other airlines, there is also the risk that an equity stake does not buy as much power as one would expect. Virgin Australia has met many potential customers over the last decade, with bits and pieces of Virgin Australia being purchased by Air New Zealand, Etihad, HNA Aviation and Singapore Airlines. HNA had ambitious plans to increase access to the Chinese tourism market in Australia, while Singapore Airlines pushed to increase its business in Australia and channel more long-haul traffic. With so many airlines in the mix and each having their own opinion in how to structure the airline, it's morphed into an airline of opposing strategies. Domestically, the airline slowly began to show profitability as a duopoly formed with its longtime nemesis, Qantas. Now, without an equity stake, airlines can still collaborate, grow revenue and influence each other on international networks. One prime example of this is American Airlines, British Airways and Iberia Airlines joint venture, which was launched in 2010. The joint venture has since then expanded to include Aer Lingus and Finnair, and allows the airlines to share the revenue of flights regardless of which airline is operating the flight. This provides significant flexibility as British Airways can operate routes that are likely to be included more British customers, such as flights to tourist destinations like Orlando or Las Vegas. The airlines are also allowed to work together to coordinate pricing, scheduling and marketing, giving the airlines free rein to work as allies rather than competing airlines across the pond. Now, there is also the chance that, if desired, each airline could walk away from the agreement given that no equity stake exists that would influence corporate strategy decisions. However, given how profitable the ventures have been, it seems highly unlikely that any partner would step back. So, in summary, each airline must make its own decisions on how to best serve its shareholders, customers and employees. In the past, many airlines have considered equity stakes in other airlines as a solution to gaining greater access in new markets, influence corporate strategy and driving revenue growth. However, equity stakes doesn't guarantee influence, nor does it reduce the risk in the event of an economic recession, but only time will tell whether airlines will follow a similar model after the pandemic.